Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit Zappy here, back again with Hunter Hunter. We're on episode 121. In the last episode, we had the confirmation and the reveal of Shia's sort of ability to clone himself, even though there's always like that one main body part that can always be damaged, whereas the rest of them just kind of go back into the sort of molecules. And when he's in that, he can only go down to the size of a bee, that main body part. But if that ever comes into play with like how he's defeated, it wouldn't surprise me. But it also wouldn't surprise me the fact that, considering he is like where he is now, in the same building as Komugi, Nefer, and Goon, because of the state that Goon is in, if Shia even starts making a move towards, anything could happen. Goon is pissed off right now, and this show is kind of unpredictable, even though I think we, most of us at this point, seeing Shia, be there, I think we all thought that, holy shit, Goon could just, go mental here, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that. We also have Leol's companion, the girl that I can't remember what the hell her name is. She's with that cute little bug, the sort of second-hand maiden, whatever the fuck. Second-hand maiden? I don't know. She's like a handmaiden, and she's a cute little bug. And she's carrying Bizef right now because the building collapsed on top of them. We'll see what happens with that. Welfin's also following them. Shoot got saved by Nov, which is, I said before the mission started, I feel like Nov's going to come back to the palace for some reason. I felt it was for Palm, and I think it still is. Speaking of which, that was the big thing, I think, was the reveal that Palm is actually captured and just being placed within a cocoon. And I just don't see that ending I can't see that ending good. I think that's just going to end in a bad way. Whether she's, I just feel like they're going to have to put her out of her misery in some way, so I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with that. I think Morel and Knuckle are facing off against Yupi right now. Killua is looking over the battlefield. I think, you can see Yupi from where he's from. The thing is, when you're with Mello, I think you just have to kind of stay out of the fights and, kind of pick and choose when you want to come out and actually attack, because obviously they don't want to give away Mello's power right now. So yeah, other than that, I don't think there's anything else to really talk about, so we're just going to get straight into episode 121 and see what we get. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, episode 121. Right. We've got Nov, who is bald now. Bless him. God, his hair's just falling out. After that last episode, when Shoot saw him from behind, he definitely had his natural hair back again. So I think what it was the fact that because Shoot was just waking up, from that sort of delirious state of losing so much blood and everything, that he knew who it was, but the image in Shoot's mind would have just been Nov as he was before. God, and I think it's just coming back here. I think it's making him sort of worse every time he comes back here. I think that's what's affecting him. Otherwise, I think he would have just, I don't know. I feel like he would have been fine if he hadn't come back in, but he's coming back in, taking Shoot out there, taking Morel out there, and basically saving their lives. This show, just every episode, all of the time, continues to surprise me by how unpredictable it is. There's no way at the beginning of this episode I would have ever told you that Yupi's going to have a change of heart and mature into this, this sort of more honourable type fucking beast that, and I said during the reaction, it's got to be that. It's got to be within some kind of beast, some beast's nature. But I don't. But that beasts aren't really honourable though. They're just they're working off instinct. So, and the narrator did confirm at one point that he doesn't have any human within him. Right? He's all beast. So I don't know. I guess it's coupled with the fact that because they evolve so quickly that they're able to sort of change within these states, and it's just when they sort of evolve. And with Yupi, his evolutions are just going crazy, all over the place. I guess because he's continuously being sort of pushed to go that far, whereas the likes of Shia and Nefer haven't gotten that yet. So I'm sure they're all capable of it. But we're just seeing like Yuppie do it, and like, you know, time and time again. And now he's a centaur. You know, he's got this like mad kind of like his left arm is just this massive head. That I think it's like a it reminds me of a Japanese what are they called? Fucking Ori or something, like demon, like the Japanese like sort of demon things, like masks that you see. That's what they remind me of. I can't remember what they're called. Is it Ori? It's not, is it? I don't know. It sounds right, but nah, whatever. You'll probably know what I mean anyway. So yeah, I mean, I was expecting one of them to die there. As soon as it became almost like a choice, when Mello decided to leave Morel, and then he was stuck in between the two, looking at them both. It kind of reminds me of like those Telltale games and stuff, because you have I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the Telltale games, because I feel like every story is always the same. Like, it's not like you can save both. It just ends up being like a one choice over the other kind of thing. But it reminded me of that, like, where it's like, who do you save? Choose one, and the other will die. I wasn't expecting Yuppie to take away the APR though, and even though the narrator was like, you know, basically pointing out the fact that was like almost like the worst decision that they could have done. In a way, I feel like I don't think there was any other way that they could have both been saved. So in that regard, it was fine. A lot of the times, like, I don't know what it is. Why the narrator sometimes doesn't line up with what's actually happening, you know? Because you have like the narrator saying like, I can't remember the exact fucking quote or the subtitles that came up, but it was something like, it was a bad idea, right? It was something like that because because of Mello's choice to leave Morel, which in turn forced Knuckles' hand to take away the APR so that, you know, so that he would take the kill, like the death instead. And the narrator's basically saying that was a bad thing, you know, like they basically screwed it up by doing that. But then it didn't screw up, because Yuppie decided to leave them both alive, even though he doesn't know why, because he's literally just matured like pretty much this instant. So it's just one of those things where it's like he doesn't understand it. But it's, you know, it's weird how the narrator just doesn't line up sometimes with what actually ends up happening. Now, I guess it could be a case of something that ends up happening later, because I was thinking during the reaction, I was like, well, that's that then. How are you going to take him out? Because that was pretty much their best bet. They'd already got it up to like 300 and something odd thousand or whatever. I guess when he's evolving, like his max sort of aura, like the number, like rises. I'm sure I remember Knuckles saying that his base thing was like 300,000. It was either that or 500,000. But if it was 300,000, then it's quite clear that his max level's going up, because at one point it was like 360 odd thousand or something. So I don't know, but I feel like that would have been their best opportunity to defeat Yuppie. And now with that out of the way, it could get to a point where wherever because Yuppie says he's going towards the king, right? How is he going to find him? Even if they knew where he was, Nove came here and said that Netaro's taken the king to the appointed location, so they're there now, I guess. So even if they were to leave now, they still wouldn't get there in time. But surely isn't that based upon Netero being able to take out the king, though? You know, like, of course Netero is fucking powerful as fuck, but surely the king is as well, and able to go up against him. I mean, this is that sure, because surely then that's entirely based on the fact that the king doesn't have a chance. But they don't know that though, right? So yeah, I don't know. But the fact is that because Yuppie left them alive and now doesn't have the APR, it kind of means that Yupi is free to do whatever he wants. It's like back to square one again, but it's not even back to square one because now Yupi's more powerful now, and you know you can't really catch him off guard now. So it's just one of those things where he could go, you know, it could end up being something that comes down the line and ends up affecting that because they didn't have the APR and they wish they did. But I don't know, with the maturity and whatnot. Like, I guess there's nothing to really say that Yupi won't. I don't like maybe change his ways and like towards the king, because the royal guards and the king and everything like that, right? Everything to do with the chimera ants is basic, like instinctual, right? Until like eventually they just start, you know, getting like all this knowledge and evolving and maturing, and then they start thinking about themselves. So I don't see why there would be a difference between the royal guards to, you know, just the soldiers and everything like that. In regards to who their sort of leader is, it wouldn't surprise me if Yupi's left after this is all said and done, and he just becomes like sort of like, I don't know, like an acquaintance, but he goes off on his own or something like that. That would not surprise me. I think Shia's done. I don't see him changing. I think he's too dramatic, and I feel like he has a sort of insane factor. So I feel like there's no going back for him. I feel like Shia's going to die. Neferpito, I mean, she's changed as well. I think that basically like sort of sums up everything that's happening. You've got Yupi who it's interesting enough that Yupi actually did say that he's become more like Shia, but I don't know. It's interesting though that I think it sums it up that Yupi and Nefer have changed, Shia hasn't. And I don't see how there would be a case that could happen. At least I don't have one in my head, like a situation. It's like a scenario where Shia would also mature and get that, because I just feel like, you know, you can't really mature out of that insanity thing. That's more of a just like an emotional thing that is there within him, as opposed to, you know, like just like lack of knowledge. So I feel like if any of the royal guards are dying, Shia's definitely going. Because he's the one that is basically, they have figured out, well, I guess due to the narrator has basically pointed out that whole thing with, you know, Shia having, he always has to have that physical body. The fact that he pointed that out makes me think that that's what's going to come into play, like what I said at the beginning of the episode in the pre-discussion, where I said he could, like, you know, that could come into play. And he goes into like clones and stuff, but then they find like the little, you know, they find the actual body, like the main part that can actually be damaged. It like reminds me of Attack on Titan, so spoilers for that if you haven't seen it. But season 3, when I think it was the first part, so the first like half of that season, you had Historia take out her father because he was in bits, right? And they were trying to find the where his actual physical body was. I feel like it could be something similar to that, but we'll wait and see what does happen with that. So yeah, speaking of Shia, we have him basically being forced to stay where he is there because Goon doesn't want it. You know, it's definitely an interesting dynamic that, you know, considering the whole idea of a king and like that sort of hierarchy that the king would be like given orders and commands and stuff, that you now have Goon basically like telling them how it is and what to do. You know, it's crazy. But it's just sort of hyping up that whole thing and putting Goon on a pedestal that he's the dangerous one right now, you know. But yeah, we did have Shia sort of telepathically communicating with Neferpito, basically asking about what's going on, and also Shia trying to use Nefer to get something out of Goon, to get that, like the king, like the information of the king's location and everything like that, without giving it away. Otherwise, there's going to be bloodshed. So it's going to be one of those things where, again, I guess relating it to another game, not a Telltale one, but the what was it? Detroit Become Human. There's like a sort of mechanic in there where you're interrogating an android, and you're supposed to not get it as stressed to the point where it explodes. I feel like almost like it works as an analogy for that. Like trying to ask the right things in the right way without tipping off Goon what they're actually doing. And it puts Neferpito in a vulnerable position, because it's like, well, she can't, if she refuses to do that, then God knows what Shia's going to do. If she does it and she fucks up, then there's no idea what Goon's going to do. So I kind of feel for Neferpito right now, you know. I said that a couple of episodes ago, like that episode that was like the best one, that Nefa's like changed, and I almost feel for her a lot. So yeah, she's in a bit of a pickle right now. And yeah, but it's interesting that Goon never acknowledged anything that Nefa was saying, or the sort of the conversation or whatever, anything that was spoken between Nefa or Shia, right? I'm not talking about the telepathically, so I'm talking about when they were talking and Nefa's like, if something, like, you know, like, if you ever come close, like, Goon's gonna go after Kamugi. I mean, that even caught me off guard, like, because I would have thought, if anything, Goon would go after Shia, not Kamugi, you know? Because, I mean, I suppose Killor was mentioning that, like, you know, he has the special word, I guess special name, Kite, right? To, like, bring him back to sort of reality and ground him a bit. Because Goon is, like, not really thinking straight, so I guess in his mind, you know, it's like us sitting here clearly, we can see it clear as day that, I mean, the reason why Goon is not attacking Neferpito and fighting her right now is because he's waiting for Kamugi to be healed up to a certain point so that they can go heal Kite. And if he kills Kamugi, there's no guarantee that that's going to happen. So it must be just a case of Goon is, I mean, that's what Nefa says. Goon never acknowledged that, right? So I could see a situation in which, like, Shia starts telepathically communicating with Neferpito. Neferpito starts asking questions to Goon to try and get out this information or whatever. Goon possibly picks up on it. Even though I just feel like, would he though? If he's not thinking clearly or anything like that, would he, like, is he smart enough to pick up on that? Because surely if he would think that he would be going after Kamugi if Shia was to interrupt or anything like that, which would fuck up his chances of saving Kite, which he thinks he can be saved, like, if he's not smart enough to pick up on that whole thing, then I don't know why he'd be smart enough to pick up on this whole thing. But then I just get the feeling that he doesn't want to be talked to in any regard whatsoever. Like, because he's even telling Shia just to shut up and you know? Like, I just feel like he doesn't want any... It's almost like an offshoot and a second-hand way of him sort of handling his rage. Like, he doesn't want anybody talking. He just wants to sit there and, like, sort of stew in his rage, you know? And just think about it, you know. It's great, because it is like just one of those things, like when you're angry, it's so tough to calm yourself down. So you just sit there and you just think of more reasons to get more angry, just so you can do something, you know. And I feel like that's the sort of position that Goon's in right now. So we'll see what happens with that. It's definitely an interesting dynamic of having sort of like the Royal Guards not on the same side, and sort of Shia trying to use Neferpito and Neferpito in the vulnerable position, while Goon's like the one that they're scared of. It's just a mad, like, it's just crazy. Like, you would have just never thought that this position would have like came about some episodes ago, you know, before the mission had started. Ugh, it's just crazy. I wrote down, when did he make a fake Morel, because but then I guess that's a different ability that he's able to do. Like, once he only sort of manifests the deep purple lot with the smoke, but I guess he can change them at will. I think he can, right? Because he changed them all to Knuckles after the pipe was taken away, I think. Yeah, so I guess he can just change them at will whenever he wants. When he disappeared and it was the real one, I was like, oh shit. I mean, in the reaction, I was like, what if that was a fake one? And it wasn't. It was just that Mello got him out of there in time. It annoys me every time though when I'm like, yeah, man, fucking, of course it was Mellow Man. It wasn't like he had an extra ability. I was like, well, if his whole Nen is based around, like, if Morel's whole Nen is based around like smoke and everything like that, that what if he has an ability to make himself into that, you know? But yeah, it didn't matter anyway. Mellow got him out of there. Also, the blood thing. I thought they established that once you're in there, nothing gets out of it. You know? Like, I don't know. I find it weird that blood would be able to leak out of it, but sound wouldn't, or anything like that, you know? I don't know if it was... actually, no. Well, was it established? No, because I think it was like Goon, like when the mission had first started, it was like that episode. When they came around the stairs and Knuckle was obviously in God's accomplice. And Yupi had started, like, you know, going mental with his arms and stuff. And Goon was saying something along the lines of, if they get hit, like, that's it. And they could be permanently in God's accomplice, like, forever, unable to be found. So I kind of just, I guess I just had it in my head that God's accomplice was a thing that nothing could get out of, you know? Even blood. I'm trying to, like, go back and remember if anything, like, occurred within God's accomplice that theoretically would be able to leak out, but I guess not. The only real one I have right now is obviously the one that happened in this episode where Morel's like shouting away and that's not getting through, but blood leaks though. Yeah. I don't know. I guess I'm thinking of it like a different dimension kind of thing, you know? So like anything that happens in there stays in there. I guess so. So yeah, I think that's Morel out for the whole thing as well, getting taken out by Nove. What else? I think that's it. I think that's all I've got. We also have Knuckle, who basically saying that he can't kill Yupi. Yeah, that sort of relates back to... I figured this would come up at some point because there was something Knuckle was talking about, like before the mission had started. Like, what if they have a good heart, kind of thing. He mentioned something like that. I can't remember if that's the exact quote, but it's something like that. Like, what would happen if that was the case? And that this was sort of the culmination of that question at the beginning of the mission. This is your answer, kind of thing. It's like it got the point because Yupi was basically let them live, that he can't bring himself to kill him because he's got a good nature now. That being said, someone who hasn't is Shia, and Knuckle basically said at the end there that there's still other royal guards out there, you know, and let's be honest, it's not going to be a Knuckle versus Neferpito situation. So who's the only one left? Shia. Now, again, I can't, it's something that I can't really, I guess, take as like a 100% thing of like, well, that means Knuckles going to be going up against Shia, because I mean, there's been quite a few times where the show's said that they're going to do something and then, you know, something unpredictable happens where they don't. So we'll have to see what happens with that. You know, I guess that's what's good about the writing of this show, is that you never really truly, and that's how they keep it unpredictable. Because if you had characters basically saying like, oh, I'm going to go do this, and then they go do it every single time, then it does get predictable. So I guess that's how they keep the show, like the writing unpredictable in that regard. So yeah, there's no guarantee that like Knuckles going to ever fight Shia at all. But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. We've also got Killua, who says that he's charging up and then he's going back to Goon. So at some point, Killua's reappearing there, and if Shia's still there at that point, you've got Killua versus Shia. So there's that. Yupi doesn't know where the king is, does he? And how is he going to get that information? I don't think he is. He's just going to run around until he comes across some people, which I imagine, again, would be like Yupi like turning up at the tower, and then that's three of them just surrounded by Goon. Like, well, they're not surrounded by Goon, but Goon's like being surrounded by all three of them, you know. It'll be interesting. I mean, Goon wouldn't really care with Yupi's sort of change because he doesn't, nothing's really phasing him at the moment. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that's all I've got. So yeah, that's it. Right, well, thank you everyone for watching. In the description below, I think certain things. One of them is the Discord, so you can get stuff over there if you wish. And I also have a Patreon page as well, so if you do want to support me, that'd be very much appreciated. There is a bunch of different tiers and rewards depending on how much you want to support me with. So there's the early access tier, $5 a month, gives you access to shows a week early, and you get 4 episodes of Hunter x Hunter every week. That's 2 on Monday and 2 on Friday, as opposed to the general public that only get access to 2 episodes a week. So by the time this episode comes out on YouTube for the general public, you'll be able to become an early access tier patron and have access to the rest of the show and reactions, because I'll be finished by that point. So if you can binge watch from now until the rest of the show within a month, it's only going to cost you $5 for the rest of the reactions. So it's a pretty good deal. There's also $10 there for full length. That doesn't matter for this show, but for other shows you will need that. And then there are tiers there where you can pay to have a certain show reacted to. So if you want me to react to a certain show, go have a look at those tiers and see what they offer. But that is all I've got, so thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.